In the middle of the night, as Anna walked through the park, a stranger handed her a small stone. Put it in your husband's pocket. Tomorrow, you'll see who he really is. Anna took the stone and decided to test her husband. This story is entirely fictional and has no connection to real events. Before we begin, a quick note. If you enjoy this video and subscribe to my channel, you'll be the first to know when new stories are posted. Let's get started. In the middle of the night, as the streetlights in the city park cast circular pools of light onto the ground, Anna hurried along the gravel path. Her coat was buttoned up, her scarf tied tightly over her hair, still smelling of freshly washed cotton. She was returning from a late meeting at the community center, where they had organized the food distribution for the needy for the coming week. The air was crisp, the city quiet, and then a man stepped out from the shadow of a chestnut tree. He wasn't threateningly close, but close enough for Anna to stop instinctively. "Excuse me, ma'am." His voice was rough but calm. In his hand was something small, glinting faintly in the lamplight. A stone, smooth as a teardrop. "Put it in your husband's pocket," he said. "Tomorrow, you'll see who he really is." Anna raised an eyebrow. "I don't take strange gifts." Her voice sounded firmer than she felt. The stranger nodded, but gently placed the stone on the wooden park bench between them. "It's just a stone. Nothing more, nothing less." Then he walked away, without looking back, his coat vanishing into the darkness as if swallowed by the night. Anna stood there, listening to her heartbeat and the warning rising within her. Mistrust is a seed that rarely bears good fruit. She looked at the stone. It was small, grey, with a fine vein running through it, like a line drawn with a silver pen. No witchcraft, she thought, just nature. And yet, the man's words lingered. At home, a warm light glowed in the hallway. Jonas's polished leather shoes stood neatly on the shoe rack. Her husband was probably already asleep. He'd mentioned he had to be at the architecture firm early in the morning. Jonas was reliable, attentive, loving, and lately, oddly distant. Brief calls on the balcony, a rescheduled appointment, a vague, "I'll tell you tomorrow." Nothing dramatic, just small cracks in the polish of routine. Anna hung up her coat and scarf, washed her hands, placed the stone on the kitchen table, and sat down. The clock's hands ticked forward softly. She prayed 2 quiet prayer units in her living room, asking for clarity and a heart that doesn't judge too quickly. Then she returned to the table, picked up the stone, and felt its pleasant coolness. A thought took shape, clear as the lines of a blueprint. No traps, no snooping in pockets or phones, just a sign that reveals nothing but might make something visible. She quietly opened the wardrobe, reached into Jonas's dark winter coat, and slipped the stone into the right outer pocket. "It's just a stone," she whispered, perhaps more to herself than to the situation. Then she turned off the light and went to bed. Jonas stirred in the dimness, mumbled something sleepy, his breathing calming as her head touched the pillow. Morning smelled of cardamom and fresh bread. Anna set the table with a bowl of olives, tomatoes, and cheese. Jonas came out of the bathroom, rubbing his wet hair with a towel, and grinned. "You're up early." "I slept well," Anna said, realizing it was true. They passed the cups, talked about the grocery list, the new intern at the office, the neighbor who'd started a small herb garden in his courtyard. Nothing unusual. Anna wasn't waiting for a revelation. She was waiting for something to explain the quiet unease. When Jonas grabbed his coat from the hook, he tucked his wallet into the left inner pocket, keys into the left outer pocket, as always. The right pocket he left untouched. "I might be late today," he said, not avoiding her gaze but not holding it either. "We have a last-minute meeting." "All good," Anna replied calmly. I'll be at the community center this afternoon. The winter coat donation drive is starting. He smiled. That's so you. He kissed her forehead, a familiar, tender ritual that touched her heart, and headed down the stairs. Anna stood at the window, watching him walk down the street, collar turned up against the wind. The stone sat in his pocket, invisible and meaningless. Or was it? Hours later, Anna felt drawn to the city. She dropped off lists at the community center, sorted wool scarves, sent emails. But between tasks, her thoughts returned to the stone. Who was the man in the park? Why her? And why had she even listened? Because the small inconsistencies of recent weeks had piled up, too many to ignore. Not because she thought ill of Jonas, but because she wanted peace in her mind. On her way home, she got off the bus 2 stops early and turned into a side street leading to the business district. She wasn't planning to tail him. The word alone tasted bitter. But the walk felt good, and maybe she'd catch Jonas during his lunch break. She stayed on the opposite side of the street when she saw his office building. Glass, concrete, clean lines. Men and women came and went, laptops under their arms, phones to their ears. Jonas stepped out, not alone. Beside him was a man in his late 50s, grey coat, briefcase in hand. Anna didn't recognize him. She was about to move on when the man paused briefly. He tapped Jonas lightly on the right coat pocket. Jonas's hand went to it automatically, his eyes narrowing, his pace slowing. Anna's breath caught. The man in the grey coat said something she couldn't hear, but she saw Jonas nod, serious and without hesitation, as if he'd been waiting for that very signal. The two walked on, not back to the office, but down the street, away from the glass facades, into an older part of the city where brick walls reflected the sun in rusty hues. Anna followed at a safe distance, her gaze fixed on shop windows whenever Jonas glanced back. Twice she stopped, pretending to browse a bookstore display or the wooden prayer beads in a small craft shop. Each time, her heart pounded louder. If she turned back now, everything could stay as it was. Open questions, closed doors. If she kept going, she'd get an answer, whatever it might be. The men turned into a courtyard. A narrow sign pointed to an old workshop. Anna stopped at the gate. Voices drifted out, muffled and calm. No argument, no rush. She stepped closer and saw through the slightly open door shelves of boxes, a large wooden board with fabric pieces spread out, tools, spools of thread. It smelled of wool, dust, and warmth. A young woman handed Jonas a thick blue coat. He checked the seams, pockets, collar, with the same care he used to study blueprints. 100 pieces by Friday, said the man in the grey coat. And quiet, as always. Jonas nodded. Anna felt her inner balance waver for a moment. What was this place? A secret workshop? An order? The stone in the pocket wasn't a magic trick, but it had led Jonas to a place she'd never have glimpsed otherwise. A place that looked purposeful, not deceitful. She stepped closer, the gravel crunching softly under her shoes. A figure in the doorway turned. "Can I help you?" asked a friendly voice. Anna flinched and forced a smile. "I got lost," she said. "Sorry." "No problem," the woman replied. "Not many people come here?" Anna nodded and turned to leave. Then her eyes fell on a wooden box by the door. Inside were dozens of small stones, smooth, veined with fine lines. One looked just like hers. Her heart skipped a beat. At that moment, Jonas stepped out of the workshop, holding the door open, and his eyes met hers. Surprise flickered across his face, then something else she couldn't quite read. Worry? Hope? He glanced at the box of stones, then back at Anna. "Anna," he said softly, "what are you doing here?" She felt the weight of all her questions suddenly very real in her hands, as real as a small, cool stone. Anna stood frozen in the courtyard's archway. Her heart pounded so hard she feared the people in the workshop might hear it. Jonas stepped closer, still surprised, but his gaze wasn't cold or hostile. He looked more like someone caught, not in guilt, but in something he'd kept hidden for a long time. Jonas. Her voice was softer than she intended. What is this place? And what's with these stones? Jonas glanced briefly at the man in the grey coat. The man gave a subtle nod, as if to say, "Tell her." Then he turned back to his fabric rolls. Jonas took a deep breath and stepped closer. "Come," he said gently. "I'll explain, but not out here." Anna followed, her thoughts racing. The workshop was warm, the windows fogged, the air thick with the scent of wool and soap. A few women sewed heavy jackets, an older woman sorted hats and gloves, and a young man labelled boxes. No one seemed rushed or unfriendly. They glanced up, nodded at Anna, then continued working as if her presence was nothing out of the ordinary. Jonas led her to a side room and set 2 chairs side by side. He sat, waiting for Anna to sit, and began. "I've wanted to tell you for a while, Anna, but I didn't know how. It was supposed to be a surprise, something we could maybe do together." Anna folded her hands in her lap, her fingers nervously fiddling with the hem of her scarf. "So? These stones? This place?" Jonas pulled the small stone from his coat pocket. "This stone, and all the others out there, aren't magical. They're a symbol. When someone wants to help someone in need in our city but doesn't want to make a big deal of it, they pass on a stone like this. It eventually ends up here. Each stone represents an order, a jacket, a pair of shoes, sometimes even a meal." Anna frowned. "But why so secretive? Why not just collect openly?" Jonas sighed. "Because many people who need help don't want their struggles on display. And some donors want to stay anonymous. It's an old tradition, started years ago by the man in the grey coat. He comes from a time when kindness often had to be hidden. We've carried it on to help everyone without embarrassing anyone." Anna fell silent. Relief, wonder, and a pang of guilt swirled within her. She'd thought of mistrust, secrets, maybe even betrayal, when all along Jonas had been quietly doing good. "And you?" Her voice trembled slightly. "What's your role here?" Jonas gave a faint smile. "I design the patterns for the jackets. I help organize, sometimes deliver. Almost every other evening, I come here, often after work. I wanted to tell you once everything was running smoothly, that you showed up here today." He paused. "That must have been the stone." Anna thought of the stranger in the park, his words. "But why did he give me the stone?" Jonas shook his head. "Maybe because he wanted you to see what we're doing. Maybe because he knew I shouldn't keep this from you." Anna felt her eyes well up. She reached for Jonas's hand. I don't know what I thought, but I was wrong to doubt you. You shouldn't have kept this from me, yes. But your heart is pure. I see that now." Jonas squeezed her hand. "It wasn't out of mistrust. I just wanted to give you a gift. A project we could carry together. Something bigger than our everyday life." The door to the side room opened, and the man in the grey coat stepped in. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, looking kindly at Anna. "I'm Mr. Berger. I suspect the stone confused you, but maybe it was the right choice to open this path for you." Anna nodded uncertainly. "I'm starting to understand. This isn't about secrecy, it's about dignity, about helping people without making them feel exposed." "Exactly," Berger said softly. "Many here know what it's like to need help, myself included. That's why we protect this tradition." He left them alone, and Anna looked at Jonas. "I want to be part of this," she said firmly. Not just because you are, because it's right. Jonas's eyes lit up, and he seemed relieved. Then come with me tonight for the distribution. We're bringing jackets to a family on the outskirts. They have 3 kids. The youngest is barely older than our niece. You'll see how important this work is. Later, as the sun had long set, Anna and Jonas rode together in an old van. The cargo area was stacked with carefully labeled boxes of clothing. The wind whipped through the streets, and the city lights blurred behind them. Anna held the small stone in her hand. It had grown heavier, not in weight, but in meaning. "You know," she said quietly, "yesterday I thought this stone was a puzzle. Today I see it's a key to your heart, and to something bigger than both of us." Jonas gave her a warm glance. "And you're the one who found it." She smiled. For the first time in days, she felt light. But deep inside, a question lingered. Who exactly was the stranger in the park who gave her the stone? And why had he chosen her? That question remained unanswered. For now. But Anna sensed the story wasn't over yet. The van rumbled over cobblestones as the night grew colder. Anna sat beside Jonas, still holding the stone. They drove through a neighborhood on the city's outskirts, where the houses were simpler, the street lights dimmer. Finally, they stopped in front of a modest apartment building. Jonas turned off the engine. "This is the Yilmaz family," he said. "The father lost his job, and the mother takes care of the kids. They don't accept charity, so we bring the jackets as a simple delivery. We say friends from the community wanted to help." Anna nodded. Together, they unloaded boxes. At the door, a woman with a headscarf greeted them, her eyes tired, but her smile warm. 3 children peeked curiously from behind her. "Peace be with you," Anna said, and the woman replied instantly, "And peace be with you." The children beamed as Jonas opened the boxes and pulled out warm jackets. The youngest slipped into a navy blue coat far too big for him and ran laughing down the hall. Anna helped the girl adjust her hood, feeling her heart swell. The mother clasped Anna's hands. "May God reward you. You have no idea what this means to us." On the drive back, a quiet, fulfilled silence filled the van. Anna leaned her head against the window, watching the city lights pass by, and thought, this is the start of something new, not just for those we help, but for us too. The next morning, Anna returned to the park. She couldn't shake the feeling that the stranger might reappear. And sure enough, there he was, under the same chestnut tree, as if waiting for her. "You did it," he said without preamble. "You passed the stone on." Anna stepped closer. "I gave the stone to my husband, but it didn't reveal anything I needed to fear. On the contrary, it opened my eyes." The man gave a faint smile. "That's its purpose. A stone doesn't uncover sins. It brings to light what's hidden, whether it's good or true." Anna studied him closely. He seemed older than the night before, his hair grayer, but his gaze clear. "Who are you?" "A man who once found a stone like that in his pocket," he replied calmly. "Back then, I was at rock bottom. No hope, no anchor. The stone led me to people who helped me stand tall again. Since then, I pass them on. Someone has to take the first step, to show the courage to trust." Anna fell silent, thinking of the workshop, the jackets, the children's joyful eyes. It had all started with this small stone. "So it wasn't a coincidence that you met me?" The stranger shook his head. "There are fewer coincidences in life than we think. Sometimes we're led to the right place at the right time." Anna placed a hand on her heart. "Thank you. Not for the stone, but for what it set in motion." The man nodded, turned, and walked down the path until he vanished in the morning sun. In the weeks that followed, Anna became a regular at the workshop. She sewed, delivered, spoke with people seeking help, and felt herself growing in the process. She and Jonas worked side by side, their trust stronger than ever. There were no more secret paths, no unspoken questions. One evening, as they sat in the workshop, hands still tangled in threads and fabric, Mr. Berger approached them. He held a small new stone, smooth and veined with silver. "This stone," he said softly, "arrived today. But I don't think it's for an order. Maybe it's a message." Anna took it carefully. Its familiar weight rested in her hand, and she thought of the night in the park. On the stone's underside was a small notch, a simple mark, like two intertwined lines. "What does it mean?" Jonas asked. Anna smiled. "Maybe just a reminder to keep walking this path." She placed the stone in a bowl with the others. Each one stood for an act of kindness, an invisible bridge between people. And so began a new chapter for Anna and Jonas, born not of mistrust, but of trust, compassion, and the certainty that even the smallest stone can create ripples, if passed on at the right moment.